Hello, sports fans out there. Welcome to our podcast today. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. Good morning. EJ, what do you got for us today?
Good morning, Mr. Aaron. Hey, we got this great subject today. Now that baseball tryouts are officially over and guys are on team now, our subject today, Aaron, is, hey, you made the team. What do you do now? How do you earn your playing time? What do you do? I mean, you want to play. That's the goal. Here we are. Time to play some baseball, my friend.
Yeah. So you've made the cut and it's starting to get to be go time. Coaches starting to fill out those rosters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you do? And just before we get into it, we've had a couple of related podcasts to this subject you guys might want to listen to. One is playing time, how to confront the coach. That's something that you guys will need to navigate if you're in that situation. Another podcast is, are you sending the coach the wrong message? How are you communicating and not communicating with your coach? So I think those are two podcasts you guys might want to listen to. I think that also kind of intersect with the subject we're talking about today. And let's get started.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Aaron, it's funny, guys make the team, they're excited, and I love that. But now it's you put all this hard work in, now it's go time, and you want to get on the field as much as you can to show your coach your talent, but really to get you into a place to where you're feeling good about what you're doing. So, I always tell players, when you make your team, that's not the end goal. Your next goal is to be on the field, whether you're a pitcher, get your innings, whether you're a position player, get your defensive and offensive at bats, and let's go. And I think when you go to practice, you need to really understand this one concept. Every time there is a rep, it's like a game rep. It's like, let's go. Let's go 100% at it. Let's be intent. Let's have intent. Let's be focused, and let's take something from that, meaning be engaged as if it's a game rather than just say it's practice. I think players go to practice, Aaron, and they just go to practice and they think, hey, I made the team. The coach is going to give me an opportunity. No, you're going to earn your opportunity to play. Coach is not giving you anything because you made the roster. That's my first point. And we can have that be our first talking point, Aaron, is that, hey, you made the team, but you earn what you keep.
Right. And I think to kind of go along with that is one of our recent podcasts where we talked about oh geez, God just went out of my head. I'm getting so old. Seasonal gut check,
Oh,
where
I love that.
really the essence of that was figuring out who you are as an athlete. And part of that process is figuring out what your role is on the team.
Right.
And making sure you're defining yourself as that type of athlete. Don't ask the athlete or the coach to say, hey, I want to be a leadoff hitter, but you haven't been working on all those attributes that are going to make you a successful leadoff hitter.
Right.
Mentally, physically, and all those sorts of things. So I think knowing your role first is a key factor in that. And then being ready for when the opportunities arise. Because I think at the beginning of the season, there may be some shuffling around. The coach may have some initial ideas about athletes and who he's going to put in certain positions. And you have those first couple of games and they're not working out so well.
Right.
So my thing is, maybe if you didn't get that initial opportunity, be ready for the shuffle.
Right.
Don't get down on yourself because you weren't picked first to play second base, but if that opportunity arises, be ready for that. Or if that opportunity arises at third base, be ready for that. So I think it's early enough where some things may not be set in stone, but also be ready to have to be patient and kind of have to wait.
Yeah. You know, Aaron, at every level, freshman, JV, and varsity, I think there's a mindset that I think an athlete needs to have. And the reason why I bring this up is a point you made about being able to switch up a little bit, maybe play another position or know your role. As a freshman, and if I were to go this chronologically as you evolve as a high school athlete, freshman, you make the team, you got to give it a first impression. So you may have some scrimmages and practices. Those things are important initially. That's going to give you the first impression of what they see. So if you have some success early, then hey, you're on your way. But if you don't have your success, then again, you're going to have to figure out when you get that opportunity is to take advantage of that. So as your freshman year, it's really important, especially when you're practicing and when you get into those first initial scrimmages, don't be nervous. Just go for it. Just instantly go for it and trust the work you've put in the off season and previous years to get you to that point. That's the first thing. On the JV side, there may be like, hey, last year you didn't play very much, but this year you're bigger, stronger, and faster. And, your body's has developed a little bit more. And the coach now sees maybe a different you, or they don't know about you, but you're impressing them in scrimmages or you're impressing them during that trial period. Now you're making your way going forward, and you got to continue to do that to prove yourself, because last year you were a certain player. This year, is this first impression good? Are you going to be consistent at the JV level or on your JV team to show the coach you earned that playing time? Now, on the varsity level, you've had a year of JV or a year of freshman, and you're going up to the varsity. Hey, you got to make that impression again. Your varsity coach doesn't know you. He didn't have you last year. Or the JV coach has talked a little bit about you. Now you're making your way on that team, or you're a returning player. And that young player that's coming up is trying to compete with that older player that's had experience. So I think there's three evolutions here, Aaron, that that I think our listeners will agree with, is that at every year it's a different process, and you have to be prepared before, during, and after in order to earn that playing time.
Right, I agree, and I think just on my side, to keep it simply stated, always be asking yourself, how am I adding value to the team? And let that be what drives you, whether that value is offensively, defensively, motivationally, whatever the case may be. But keep always asking yourself, how can I add value to the team each week, each game, each practice? And I think that'll keep you working in the right direction. So if you're getting those opportunities, you continue to get them. If you haven't gotten those opportunities or you're waiting to, you'll be ready for the next opportunity.
I agree with that, Aaron. I think a lot of young people in high school get discouraged when things don't go well initially. And then some of them who've had success all of a sudden get big heads sometimes and may think, hey, man, this is easy. Because there's two parts of the season. I always think there's three parts of the season, Aaron. There's the scrimmages where you're playing without the uniform on. Okay. Then you have these preseason games that count in your statistics before league, and you're making your way. You're getting your repetitions. You're trying to show the coach that you are a consistent player. So that's that games count preseason. And then there's your league. When you get to your league, coach has a good idea who's going to be playing in league, unless a player gets hurt or a starter is struggling. So, I think athletes need to understand that they're not going to get the same opportunity at certain parts of the year. And I think a lot of them think they are. Like, yeah, I'm getting another opportunity. Um, I think first impressions are important in high school baseball or high school in general, if we're talking about athletics, and that first impression is important, but to be consistent and also if you're not playing, being ready. You said something really important there. Finding ways to contribute to your team on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. Those go a long way to opportunities later that you could be getting. Because if you have a bad attitude or you're doing something that's not conducive to the culture or the environment that your team is in, then maybe you're not going to get that opportunity that that other athlete has because of attitude or the culture they're creating or things that they're doing in a positive way that your coach says, hey, I like how that guy's acting. Yeah, he hasn't played very much recently, but he's doing things in practice better. He's committed. He doesn't have a bad attitude. She doesn't have a bad attitude. They want to be here for the team. So I kind of break the season into three components there a little bit so people can understand how a season could go in a high school scenario.
Yeah, I actually like how you broke that down. I never really thought about it that way because yeah, the opportunity does change as the season. And I guess that would bring me to the one point of stay the process, stay the course. It's very easy for athletes to get frustrated if they're not having success early, especially those who have, put in a lot of time and work. I mean, I recently had an athlete who's a track and field athlete who worked in the off season, and he had these big expectations for himself, and he ran one race and he didn't run what he expected to run, and he decides he wants to quit track. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking
Wow.
about? You just ran the equivalent to your last season's PR
Right.
in January. And you ran your PR in June of last year. So you're ahead. So you got to kind of let the body and the performances develop. Not everyone gets to come out and just bang out the chute, have their fastball jump 7 miles an hour,
Right.
or hit, 350 or whatever the case may be. Sometimes performances take time to percolate and to show. And and that means you have to have patience, and you also have to put performances in perspective. I mean, I tried to do that for the athlete. I mean,
Right.
one, it's your first race of the year. Two, all the other indicators of your training show that you are going to run fast. Three, you basically ran your PR in your first race of the year when it's raining.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, but kids have these unrealistic expectations, or maybe the parents put the unrealistic expectations, and they quit before great things can happen. And,
Right.
and that really kind of made me sad for this young man because
Right.
he did have the ability, did have the talent. But
Yeah.
the one thing I always say about sports is it's what happens up here. And again, our last podcast, if you can't beat the demons that are facing you in the mirror, you can't beat anyone else outside of
Wow. That just, man, that, Aaron, that's a mic drop right there, man.
that.
I mean, ideally, players need to understand that as they get prepared to play the sport here, and they're in the preseason right now. I mean, we're in preseason right now. Scrimmages are over. People are putting on their spring uniforms now with that name across the chest and the number on the back, if that's the case. And they're competing right now. And I think that's a good mental thing that they have to deal with. So well said, my friend. Well said.
Well, I want to wish everyone luck. Congratulations to those of you who have major squads. We also are going to tackle the subject for those who did not make the cut. Stay tuned for that podcast coming up.
And as we close up our podcast today, just want to point out a important April 28th webinar day at 2 p.m., Aaron, that we're going to have for all those players, parents that are interested in knowing what we do at Hardball Athletics. And if they have any questions about anything that comes up in training and development or any subject that Aaron and I tackle over our 35 years of experience individually and collectively 70 years, come to our webinar on April 28th at 2 p.m. up on Zoom. So with that said, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
It's Coach Aaron, the source. Have a good season.